Hey folks, my name is Sean, and in this video I'll show you how to create a cheap grid tie microinverter setup with 600 watts of power for less than 500 bucks. Thanks for joining. Before we get started, I want to cover the two types of setup. The first type is the single inverter type with multiple panels, and so for example you can have one single inverter and have 4 panels hooked up to that one. The second type is the microinverter setup, which is for each panel it has its own microinverter hooked up to each panel. And so if you have 4 panels, then you have 4 microinverters hooked up to it. So last summer I did a setup with a single inverter and 4 panels, and that was pretty efficient over the summer, but that was because I had sun all day long. But as fall and winter came, I started to get shade in the backyard and it wasn't efficient anymore, and so that's why I'm doing this microinverter setup, because the microinverter at each panel can effectively power each of those panels to their fullest potential. So to start, I basically just built a wood frame for my 2 panel setup out of 2x4s, and each of these panels, they're 300 watts a piece, and so with the 2 of them combined together, I'm expecting to get about roughly 600 watts of power out of this setup. Each of these panels will hook up to a microinverter, and so each of these panels, they'll have 2 cables on the back of them. They'll hook up to the microinverter, which also has 2 connections. From the microinverters, each microinverter has 1 out, and so basically I also have a cable that's a 2-to-1 cable, where each of the microinverter will plug into those 2-to-1 cable and become 1 cable at the end of it. On this junction box, it's basically where I can connect my 2 cables together. On one end, it's the cable from the solar panel. On the other end, it's going to go directly to my 240 volt outlet. And so basically with this junction box is just a place where I can make it watertight and splice the cables together. And that's all it is. There's nothing fancy inside of here. There's 3 cables that kind of connect to each other, and it extends the cable out to the wall outlet. So the cable I have here going to the wall outlet, it is a 12 gauge, a 12-3 cable, outdoor cable. And at the connection, I have a wall outlet that's a 1450 plug, and so basically I just bought this yellow plug from Amazon and hooked it up and then plugged it into my 1450 outlet, which is a 240 volt outlet. So just to recap, from the wall outlet, I have a 12 gauge cable with a 1450 plug, and if you follow that, you'll get to the junction box, which is kind of where I splice everything together. And then from there it goes to the 2-to-1 connector. From there it goes to the micro inverter, and then from there it goes to the solar panel, and that's pretty much it. One last piece I didn't touch about was the monitoring. Inside of those microinverter, there's actually a wireless device where it actually sends the signal on the voltage produced to a monitoring system that I have over here that it's plugged into my network, and so we'll walk through that really quickly as well too. So inside the house I have a monitoring device which shows how many panels are connected to the monitoring device, but it doesn't show you how much power it's producing. So you have to download a third-party app, and the third-party app is no longer supported, but it still works. And so if you're looking at this app, it'll tell you the efficiency, like it's over 90% efficient right now, and I'm producing about 300 watts for the 2 panels. But we are in the middle of winter, it's February, and 300 out of 600 is probably pretty good in February. Over the summer I expect to probably get about 500 or so. So when you compare this to the single inverter setup that I did in the past, the single inverter setup would roughly give me about 70% efficiency, and these are supposed to be much more efficient devices, and so it's looking like it's giving me over 90% efficiency. Hey guys, so thanks for watching. This is basically my DIY setup on a really cheap solar grid tie inverter setup, and I just wanted to give you an example of something that you can do on your own at a fraction of the price of what it would cost for something like this. And so typically rates are roughly about $5 a watt, and so a setup like this would probably be about $3,000. You can do this at about $400 to $500. Thanks for watching and enjoy.